Thank you. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
We were just listening to music together. It's like it puts you in a zone.
It's pretty awkward.
Yeah.
To watch that video
with everybody here.
I always think it's something you watch on your phone.
Yeah, on a big screen, it's a little different.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you, though, man. We've never met before, but you strike me as a very thoughtful guy. You put a lot of thought into everything you do, whether it's art, whether it's the message behind the art. And
either a lot or none at all.
Yeah, or none at all sometimes?
Nothing between,
Yeah, that might be a good policy to have, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
All the way or just don't even go?
Yeah.
But let's start at the top with this record, Sex and Food, and it's a record that's been said to be about where we're headed, what we're consuming, how it's all sort of affecting us in these modern times. And in your own words, how do you kind of feel about the current state of things?
What a weird question. I don't know. Like I don't really think of it as being about those things.
No.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of jams for people to listen to on the train on the way to work.
Okay.
I don't.
Is it really as simple as that?
I don't know. Like I look at everything's. It's like that song. Everyone acts crazy nowadays. I don't know. It's not really supposed to be a political thing. I'm looking around and it's. It seems like the world's going crazy. I don't know if everybody feels that way about it.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be inherently political when you say that. I mean, things like social media. I look around, walk around this city, New York City. There's some crazy people I see every day. You know what I mean? I think these are kind of crazy times.
Yeah, really crazy. But I don't know. I just think I wanted to make an enjoyable record, but it was also really kind of heavy time. So there are a lot of things that I was observing and writing about seemed to be, I suppose other people think it's political, but I'm just I still feel like I'm just looking at things and making comments about them, and I don't really know what the point of it is or whatever. So.
Right. I mean, you had to put some thought into it, though, because these are jams. These are great songs. But you spent 2 years with this record. You started doing it in early 2016, so that's a lot of time to spend with a body of work. Yeah,
but I do so much of it myself. It takes a long time to finish everything. So I, because I do the mixing and production and stuff, and I wanted to go to a few different places. I went to Iceland and South Korea and Vietnam. Mexico City, and Auckland, New Zealand. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of traveling around and recording different places, and it just took a long time because I spent a long time on everything. So, yeah.
Was that a planned thing when you were heading into whatever this record would become? It obviously became Sex and Food. Was that something you wanted to do, or was that something you just kind of got stir crazy up in Portland, wanted to travel?
Yeah, I've made 2 records in my house. I have a studio in my house, and I made 2 records there. I like that, but it's just like the thought of just staying in my studio at home for a whole record again just sounded like I was going to go, stir crazy. So I thought, I kept coming up with this idea. I was like, where do I want to go right now? I want to go to Iceland, so I just go to Iceland and write and record there. And then once I got sick of that, go home again and feel refreshed and glad to be back in my studio.
Are you an artist that you would say is greatly affected by your surroundings? Do you make different music or do you make different art depending on your surroundings?
I didn't really know if I would, but yeah, I did. It's like when I went to Hanoi in Vietnam, my logic was I had this idea. I wanted it to be influenced by Jimi Hendrix and kind of go back to. One of my
the Watchtower, right?
Yeah, particularly that song, which I think is one of the, greatest recordings of all time, and I kind of keep going back to that because it's the production and recording and the playing and the writing and all those things are all such a high standard. But I thought maybe I'll go to Electric Lady or come to New York and do that, and I thought well, that's what everybody does. And then I thought about how Jimi Hendrix music, I probably saw it first in movies about the Vietnam War. I thought maybe I should go to Vietnam. And then I went there and then kind of got an apartment. We didn't really do anything else except walk from my apartment to the studio and back every day. And walking through lotus farms and the humidity and all that stuff really made it so that I would get to the studio and be really inspired. And there were a bunch of traditional Vietnamese musicians that would like hang out at the studio, and then we started jamming with them and like recording stuff. So we kind of made another whole album of music that was made with these guys that we just like met at the studio. Yeah, so that really kind of ended up in the record, but mostly in the mood. There's a lot of like the mood of Vietnam on the record, but it's not like we kind of like took in like some traditional Vietnamese world music vibe or something. It's just like the way it made us feel was like pretty heavy.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things to do when we got the LP right here on vinyl, and beautiful cover, by the way.
Yeah, it's Neil Krug. He's
the artist behind it.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, and he's just an amazing artist.
I was going to say, one of my favorite things to do just as a fan when I'm listening to some of my favorite artists' music is kind of figure out when I hear that you were all over the world for these songs, which songs you recorded at which place. Not to run through the whole list, but let's talk when you went back to New Zealand. What songs on here did you record there?
I think there's a song called Honeybee on here. I was set up at my brother's studio. My brother plays drums in the band, and me and the bass player and Cody, my brother, we just set up and recorded live. It was really cool because we never really done that before, and it was just like a nice spring kind of day, and it was kind of like sounds like springtime to me.
Yeah. So you did Honeybee back home.
Yeah.
And that's a personal title, right? That comes from, is it your daughter's middle name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my daughter's
middle name. So talking about the effects that location have on music making, I can take that from you. Do you find that when you go back home to New Zealand, that you make records that are more personal?
Not necessarily. I mean, you're always stuck inside your own brain, so I'm always just like kind of trying to be overwhelmed, and then we get, when you get overwhelmed emotionally, or like you're in a particular part of a relationship or whatever. When I'm overwhelmed, then I try to like catch that feeling, the way that day feels, and then try to turn it into a song so that when you listen to it, you know exactly like how I felt that day. Yeah.
How do you typically become inspired in Portland? I think, I don't want to say it's easy to become inspired when you travel, but you're sort of inundated with new experiences when you travel. So there are a lot of things to sort of grab from.
Yeah.
When you're just at home in the city of Portland, Oregon, what is it that does it for you?
Well, when I've been in Portland for about 10 years, but when I first moved there, it was from New Zealand, and so Portland was kind of exotic kind of place, because and we were talking about this a couple of days ago. Like there would be like good music. You could bar hop in Portland. You go from bar to bar to bar, and then they have like, there's no real delineation between like a karaoke bar or a bar in a strip club, especially back then. So we would just kind of like wander around from bar to bar, get a drink. It's like good music in every place. It's like I wasn't really used to that. Like I'd have to go to my the bar where my friend was, bartending, and then to hear music that I liked, and then in New Zealand. But in Portland, it was like every single bar had. You go to a bar and you like Shazam half of it and stuff. So that was really enough inspiration. But now it's like everywhere is a little bit like that,
Yeah. How'd you settle in Portland?
I have family there.
Okay.
My mom's from Hawaii.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of her family on the Hawaiian side. Are out there, and I went to visit them, and I didn't know anything about Portland. I didn't think there was anything special about it, but I visited there, and I went into town, and it was like, I don't know, it's like the vibe, I guess.
Well, I love Portland as a music town. I feel like it's an underappreciated music town because it sort of gets lost in the West Coast, California bands. But one of my favorite bands, Everclear, they're a rock band from the '90s. They kind of came out of the punk scene there, the rock scene there.
Yeah.
Elliott Smith, of course, spent a lot of time up there.
Yeah.
It's an interesting town. What is it like today?
It's cool. I don't know. It goes through different times. I think there was this TV show called Portlandia. Kind of like took a certain aspect of Portland and kind of made it really famous. It was kind of an annoying thing for but it was kind of built up out of things that me and my friends would joke about, but I think a lot of people like moved to Portland to kind of make that what Portland was, like the kind of ridiculousness of all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but it's pretty resilient. I mean, it's kind of it has a seediness to it that is kind of like somehow not creepy. I don't know how it's like. There's nowhere else like it. It's like the thing with the strip club thing. Like I never go to strip clubs, but in Portland it's like a normal thing to do.
Yeah,
go to a strip club and
club.
Yeah, and then it's just like, kind of like really normal thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Portland gets away with it, but it just kind of works.
Yeah, it's a cool town.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about why you named the record Sex and Food. It's sort of born out of this commentary you had about how we pair sex with violence. And it's funny because I never even thought of that. I just it's a phrase that's tossed around, growing up,
weird,
especially
right?
here. And then when I read your comments, like, that is really weird that we pair sex and violence together.
It's
like,
got nothing to do with violence.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But probably sex and food, far better combination. So can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah, I suppose, like, I was worried I was getting a little bit heavy on the record. I was just like, I knew it was going to have, because I kind of write dark things anyway. So I was thinking, like, on these times it's going to be really like dystopian kind of record, and then I decided I should try to clarify that my point of view is actually really simple and kind of dumb. Really, it's not. I'm not trying to be clever or anything.
Yeah.
And so Sex and Food felt like it. I was trying to explain, like, what just the things that make me happy. Like I went to this restaurant, Modern Love, last night, and we got these like fried risotto balls. It makes me happy just thinking about it, like eating. And I was kind of like like tired and like kind of like grumpy. And I took one mouthful of food, and then I just became like suddenly just happy. I'm like, not just happy, like happy with the food, just happy. Like I'm actually just happy.
It's a great endorsement for that restaurant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but it was good. Thank you for the food. But I just like I can be made happy with good food. So I was kind of like trying to explain that, and I think other people will be like, hey, yeah, life's not actually that complicated. We should figure this out.
Are you...
What am I talking about?
No. I speaking of what you're talking about, there seems to be somewhat of a theme during this conversation of you not wanting to be taken too seriously. I don't want to say it's a fear of being taken too seriously, but it's like you were making this record, you felt it was getting too dark, so you put a lighthearted title on it. You pulled it back a little bit. Even the quote that I cited before about what the record's about, and it's about jams. Like, where does that come from?
I just think that like rock and roll is the reason that rock and roll is the perfect art form is because no matter what your ambitions are, it gets like crushed, down into this. It's just this is all it is, or it's just like files on your phone or whatever. It never becomes overblown and pretentious. So I try to, it's important that because I nerd out, like I obsess over it, but it all gets crushed down into this kind of format that people listen to during their shift at work, or when they're on the way to school and stuff like that. And it's like it's the most important. It's the best art form ever. So that's the thing is like, I put a lot into it, but I want it to be like, just I want it to feel good. You know, that's like a simple thing.
Is
like
it
sex
ever
and food?
Sex and food, man. Is it ever exhausting when you make music as eclectic as you do? Because I love the record, but it's like there's just so many different sounds. I'm like, this guy's brain must just be like wild.
It's just I don't know. It kind of went all these different ways, and I was thinking about the way that people enjoy music nowadays. An album kind of gets fed into Apple Music or Spotify, you know, as an album, but then the songs all go their separate ways into different playlists and stuff like that. So I didn't worry too much about, you know, genre bending and stuff like that, which I've always kind of been like that anyway, like messing with a lot of different genres and putting things together that don't usually go together and stuff. But in this day and age, it's like I get even more permission to do it. And then there's like, the challenge becomes like, how do I do that and make it completely going in 10 different directions at the same time, but then make the record actually still play through like in a way that feels like it's one band, not like 10 different bands.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does, and it actually leads me to what I wanted to ask you about next, is sort of the through line with something like a track list when you're putting together the sequencing of an album like Sex and Food, and then your live shows, of course, putting together set lists. How do those two experiences compare?
Well, it's cool because if we have so many different moods, and so we can kind of put together a live show that goes through a lot of different stages, and it feels like kind of like a story. So it can, you know, there's like a kind of a violent section of the set, and there's like a very kind of sexy slow jam kind of thing, and then so these things like move through like almost like a play or something like that.
Yeah.
And then so it's kind of like the pacing and the options that you have for how to build the set becomes really fun, and so that's kind of what we get to be in the early stages of that now, which is really cool.
Definitely. And do you have more fun putting together a track list or set list?
Set list.
Set list for sure.
Because you're out on the road and on a tour bus getting drunk every day and stuff while you're doing
yeah, exactly.
with your friends.
More drinking involved in the set list design. A song I love on this record is American Guilt. And it's really like a heavy rock record, you know, with that distorted guitar I think I hear on it. You had some interesting comments about, you know, your take on rock and post-punk and wanting to make rock dodgier. And I'm just a huge rock and roll fan, so I was wondering if you could talk about that track.
Yeah, I suppose it was just kind of like, I like the idea of things being out of fashion, or people thinking something's irrelevant, and then kind of like leaning into that, going and being like, maybe it's not, and you know, kind of.
Yeah.
And so I suppose at the moment it seemed like the type of music that, because I listen to all kinds of music and I love like every genre really, but at different times things come in and out of fashion. So right now it seems like, you know, dudes with guitars are kind of like not in right now or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm gonna be a dude with a guitar
and lean
just
into
do exactly the wrong thing. Yeah, because it's fun. Because then people, I don't know. It's always, there's a lot of creative inspiration there.
Yeah.
You know, and I really like you know, Led Zeppelin is like maybe my favorite band. So
yeah.
I tried to write a Led Zeppelin song.
Who are you inspired by today, or just who's like on your phone when you're listening to music right now?
Oh, well, yesterday listening to a lot of there's this guy called Ross from Friends.
Okay. Wait, is that really?
Yeah. And
his act's name is Ross from Friends.
Yeah, and
that's great.
And his friends are there's another guy called DJ Boring, and DJ Seinfeld is another one.
All right. You like
It's
the
like-
ones that are TV themed, it sounds like.
No, it's just a group
There's a
of
sitcom
friends.
involved, you'll listen to it.
Yeah, and there's a guy called Baltra as well, and he did a remix. I got him to remix one of our songs.
Oh, hell yeah.
But so it's like they call it. It's like I think it's just like lo-fi house or something. It's like kind of 90s house. I don't know. It's just a group of friends in London, I think. But I've also been listening a lot to a band called Divide and Dissolve from Australia. It's like two girls, and they make this like really, really heavy doom metal, and it's like very kind of. It's about history of. The music is about the history of racism in Australia. One of the girls is Indigenous Australian, and one of the girls is white, and they make this kind of
That's rad.
heavy, like scary music. And I'm trying to maybe like produce one of their records or something. I think it's
That'd be
really
amazing.
good,
Yeah, totally.
really good music.
We got some fans in the house today, so let's get to some questions from the audience.
Hi. So I know that you said you put this album mostly together yourself. For Sex and Food, what was the hardest part that you think?
Well, it was. I got to work a little bit more with my bandmates, with Cody, who plays drums, and Jake, who plays bass. And usually I do a lot of it by myself, but this time they were a lot more involved. And that makes it hard because, like, you know, traveling around and working with different people, it was just like trying to make it all like come together by myself. Basically, was weird. You know, at the end when I'm like mixing it and all that stuff. But I like doing it. It just takes a long time, and I have a lot of people around me that help me a lot. But just in terms of like, you know, just trying to like tie a project up like you would if you were working on a thing at school or something, you know, school project or something. Yeah.
Rad. Thank you very much. We have time for one final question.
Hi, I was just wondering what the alternative music scene is like in New Zealand, and if your music was affected at all once you moved out or moved to Portland.
Well, yeah, I think so, because in New Zealand it's like it's a small place, so that all the scenes are kind of are put together. Like if you have like punk rock scene, an indie rock scene, and a metal scene, and all these things, it's like even like hip hop and all that, those things that a lot of these bands are like kind of not forced to, but like they naturally just play together. So everybody kind of there's not like the scenes aren't really delineated like they are here because there's more people and stuff like that. So I think when I was growing up, I didn't really think that these genres were all separate. I just kind of thought music is music, and I can be influenced by any of it. So coming to the States, I just think it was just kind of weird. It's like if you go to a metal, like say a death metal show, and it's like it's going to be all like death metal people, and I'm like, whoa! And I walk in and I'm not like one of them, and I think like, why does everybody look the same and stuff? Whereas in New Zealand, when I go to a show, it would be like all kinds of people at every show, basically. So I think that was like a good thing. Now that I look back at it, yeah.
Great question. All right, we are unfortunately out of time, but actually probably fortunate for you, you got a show to get ready for tonight.
Yeah.
At Brooklyn Steel.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for stopping by,
Thanks
Ruben.
for having
Again,
me.
if you're watching at home, you want to pick up the record, it's out and available everywhere now. Sex and Food. Thank you.